In this video I'm going to look at a simple technique for adding some dust and dried mud to the running gear of a vehicle. I'm going to focus under the wheel arches and on the tracks. To begin with, I'll take a mixture of white glue, matte varnish and tap water mixed to a runny consistency, and I'll brush on a thin coat under the wheel arch where mud might collect during the running of the vehicle. When the glue is in place, I can then start to heap on pigments with the same brush and allow them to soak up the glue until they become a thick paste. Gradually this will become drier and drier until the effect of dried mud is achieved. I'll use the dry mud colour to start with, and then I'll add a little more glue, and I'll go back in with the colours Europe Dust and Dark Mud. I'll go back over the top with the dry mud colour just to blend it all back together again. And here you can see the effect achieved. I'll repeat the process again over the track area, starting with a coat of the glue mixture and then adding the pigments in with a dabbing motion until they become a stiff, thick paste. This will then dry to the effect of dried mud. I like to try and mix a few colours together just to get a bit of variation in the tone. The three colours used here are dry mud, dark mud and Europe Dust. To add a little bit of detail to the mud, I'm going to take some woodland scenic grass and cut a small tuft off with scissors and add it to the palette. To add a little bit of variation, I'm going to use some Russian earth pigments as well as the usual mix to add a little bit of a darker tone. And then on top of the paste that I've just applied, I'm now going to use some of the cut grass and just dab it in with the pigments. I don't like to add too much as this effect can be overdone, but it does add a nice touch when it's finished. When the grass is on, I'll pile some more pigments on the top just to hold it all in place and dry the mud up. And there you can see the effect of grass that's been caught in the mud. I'm going to start applying a simple pigment wash to the tracks. This is just the dry mud pigment mixed with tap water and brushed over the area. You'll see that the wash immediately sinks into all of the recessed areas, and I'll apply this wash all over the tracks. I'll also apply to the wheel at the front. Again, you can see it sinking into the recessed areas, but I'll also brush the wash across the front of the wheel to pick out any details there. When the pigment wash is dry, I'll take a large flat brush and give the whole wheel a quick wipe over. Any built up areas can be removed easily with this method because the water doesn't hold the pigments to the surface at all. Using the wash this way, the dust will gather in the recessed areas, just like on the real thing. Around the outside of the wheel, where the surface of the tyre would be in contact with the ground, the dust would also be worn away there. So the brush does the trick around the outside as well. Rather than mess around with the brush on the tracks, I just use my finger to wipe them clear. Now I'm going to add some more interesting tones to the tracks and the wheels by going in with another mix of pigments, again mixed with tap water. Here I'm using Europe Dust again. This just breaks up the monotone colour and adds a little bit of depth. With that dry, this is the effect that I've managed to build up with this simple technique.